Over the last 7 decades, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has emerged as a proactive, transparent and robust regulator. ICAI is regulatory body of the financial audit and accountancy profession in India, issuing standards on accounting, audit, ethics and rebuild guidance to ensure quality services, augmented and enhance the competence of peer and financial reporting review boards. Embracing technology to augment competence and capacity of members and firms to improve quality. Almost 1 lakh firms spread across India are engaged in audit, assurance, taxation, valuation, due diligence and business advisory etc. Promoting CA firms as export of CA services by working to establish presence in more than 77 cities globally. CA firms are registered with ICAI and have unique FRN. Recognized, impaneled by CAG, RBI, SEBI and other regulatory bodies. Regulated by peer review mechanism and code of ethics. Benchmarked code of ethics with IESBA to improve integrity, objectivity, competence and professionalism. Building reporting framework for the future by developing forensic accounting and investigation standards, FAIS and AQMM model for the new age. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has been consistently striving to setting up benchmarks in delivering stringent action against erring professionals through its well-defined disciplinary mechanism. FRRB promotes investor confidence by suo motu reviewing financial statement of public listed entities, examines compliance with reporting requirements of applicable statutes, accounting standards and standards on auditing to ensure good governance and protect public interest. PRB has also emerged as a transparent quality control process.
All right, a very good afternoon, everyone, and welcoming you all to this session post-lunch. I am Dr. Gopika Kumar, your host for this session, and the theme for this session is on technology and the future. It's going to be a panel discussion where we're going to be discussing about that technology has the power to change the world that we live in and the way that we live. Let's join our team of experts in being able to learn the latest technology trends and how it will impact the accountancy profession globally. To deliberate further on this theme for the day today, we have our distinguished moderator and speakers for this session. May I please take this opportunity to welcome our distinguished guest, CA K. Raghu, past President, ICAI. Can we put our hands together and welcome him, sir? Thank you so much for being present amongst us today, sir. I'd also like to take this opportunity to welcome our eminent panelists, Dr. Clare Walsh, Head of Education, Institute of Analytics. Can we put a round of applause, please? We also have amongst us Mr. Jeffrey C. Thomson, President and CEO, Institute of Management Accountants. Can we have a round of applause, please? Amongst the eminent team of panelists here, we have Mr. John Turner, CEO, XBRL International Inc. Let's put our hands together and welcome sir here. And we have our eminent panelist, CA Shailesh Haribhakti sir from FCA. Let's put our hands together and welcome the distinguished team of panelists here. At the onset now I would like to request our respected CA K. Raghuji to kindly address the session and lead the panel discussion thereby.
Good afternoon, friends. A very warm welcome to all of you to this session on technology and the future. I think I would like to compliment the leadership of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and IFAC for having provided an opportunity for the ICAI to host this World Congress. I've had the opportunity of participating in the World Congress in Rome 2014 when I was a president. And let me tell you, friends, it's really a great opportunity to meet so many 6,000 delegates from more than 120 countries. A very warm welcome to all of you to this beautiful country. Friends, this session is all about technology, how the accounting profession can play an important role in this revolution that is taking place, how exactly we as accounting professionals should embrace technology, what are the emerging technologies. And we have an eminent panel here who will take us through various developments taking place in the field of technology. Dr. Clare Walsh, who is the head of education of Institute of Analytics, then Jeffrey, John, and Sailesh will explain to us as to how all of us should be a part of this technology revolution. Today, intelligent technology is playing a vital role in shaping the accounting profession. Technology that is intelligent, when we talk about intelligent technology, we talk about technology like advanced analytics, predictive analytics, blockchain, robotic process automation, and a lot of new emerging technologies that is changing the way accountants carry out their functions. And today we find that a lot of new careers are opening up in the accounting technology space. Just being accountants is not sufficient. You need to have the knowledge of technology also. And today the new trend is working on the cloud. You can work from anywhere, anytime. You can collaborate with a group of accountant, finance professionals working on the cloud. And what is happening today is that we are in a disruptive era. The accounting profession also is going through this disruption. Mobile accounting is gaining popularity. All of us are seeing how today mobile phones are being used to carry out online accounting. And the message is absolutely clear. Every accountant needs to be tech savvy to survive in this revolution. Having said this, what is very important for us to know is the digital transformation that is taking place in the landscape around the world. All the commerce is happening on the internet today. Wherever you go around the world, you find that a whole lot of activities happening on the internet. Digital commerce has taken a big, you can say, lead. And in a country like India also, the government is giving a big push to usher in use of digital transactions. And as a result of which, we are seeing new models emerging. We are seeing a lot of new things happening in various sectors, let's say the banking sector or whether it's education sector. And we see a lot of market efficiency and improved market access happening because of this digital transformation that is taking place around us. And this digital transformation would definitely impact each one of us, would impact the accounting profession, would impact business, and all of us should be aware of this. As I said, cloud is gaining popularity, and we find a whole lot of enterprises, even in the developing nations, moving to the cloud. Cloud has become affordable. Accountants find it convenient to work on the cloud, and even small accounting firms have moved to the cloud so that they're able to work seamlessly. And COVID really stepped up the use of cloud accounting, and today we find that online real-time audits, web trust audits, a whole lot of activity is happening through the use of cloud technologies. Big data analytics gaining ground today. When you look into the opportunities that is coming up globally, accountants with the knowledge of analytics is what is preferred. And I'm sure our panel speaker would tell us as to how analytics would play a very important role for you to shape your career. The problem is handling a lot of data, and analytics helps us to navigate through this data, mine the data that is useful for decision making. Artificial intelligence is gaining ground. Today we have all seen how artificial intelligence is used in many areas. And as an accountant, you really need not know how to develop AI, but you need to know how to use the artificial intelligence to carry out your audit, to carry out your, and analyze key market trends, look at the various tax utilities using AI. So AI would be one big thing that will bring about a great change in which you conduct your audits. And today you need to have the knowledge of using AI tools so that you can provide online accounting services. Blockchain is something all of us are aware, and thanks to maybe the new the use of blockchain is being used in the banking automation sector, and I'm sure our accounting profession would play a very big role in the use of blockchain technology. Robotics process automation, where repetitive tasks are being performed by using RPA software, and today we find that simple things like bank reconciliations and various other activities can be done. Repetitive transactions can be analyzed using robotic process automation. Peripheral technologies are also playing a big role, using drones, using cameras, using sensors. It is possible for them to assist your audit procedures. Today, cameras and sensors used to inspect assets such as buildings, agricultural land, and also used for valuation. So what is really happening is that even peripheral technologies is helping the growth of use of technology in the accounting profession. So the message is clear to all of us. I think we all should be future ready, because technology cannot replace accountants. That's one thing we need to be clear. We need not fear for technology. We need to collaborate with technology professionals. As accounting professionals, you can't do it alone. You have to work jointly with technology professionals. We need to integrate technology into our day-to-day functioning. And finally, friends, let's have an open mind to embrace technology. Technology is not very difficult. I'm sure each one of us present in this hall would agree that technology would make our life much simpler, would help us to carry out our duties more efficiently. And with this background, I'm very confident that the panelists will take us through the various developments taking place in the field of technology and how each one of us sitting here should leverage on technology so that we are able to get the benefit of using technology in our day-to-day work. And thanks to all of you for a patient hearing.
Who's first?
The format of the session should be like this. Each of the panelists would be speaking for about 6 minutes, and then we'll have a panel discussion. We can invite questions from the audience. I will be posing a few questions, and then we will take this forward. I now would invite Dr. Clare Walsh, Head of Education, Institute of Analytics, to make her presentation.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me here with you this afternoon. I am from the Institute of Analytics. I am not an accountant. I work in the field of data analytics. At the Institute, we are, of course, really excited about all of the technologies that Mr. Raghu has described, but we have to engage with them at a much more granular level. When we horizon scan and look at the technologies that are coming to us, we have to have questions like, how? How are we going to do this? How will we use these technologies? What skills do people have? How do we get them to the point where they're able to upskill? And whether we should be using these technologies, what are the issues? What are the ethics? What is it that we should know about them? And this is equally important, but this year, in 2023, we have a landmark year of change coming. We have regulations in the field of technology that have never been seen before. Technology has largely been allowed to grow outside of government control, and that is all changing. Whether we look at, with 3 out of the world's 4 biggest economies, I believe California is now the 4th, and of course a huge data center, the European Union, and we do also have federal legislation in the USA now coming through, all of them regulating the use of AI. Now you might think, you don't work in AI, but when we look at the definitions that we're using, the EU defines it as any probability-based statistical analysis process. In other words, it is a very wide net that they are casting. And we would argue that it is time perhaps to start engaging with these technologies at a deeper level. There is no technology that is illegal. None of the ones that we have mentioned is in itself unethical. Under these new definitions, it is the use of that technology in a particular scenario, and that is where the challenge comes. I know many of you would prefer just to hand the technical process to me to do, because I'm a data analyst and you trust me. There are some things I would do with your data that you would not be happy about if you knew what I was doing. And particularly if your data analyst is a 24-year-old recent graduate, they don't know what they should be warning you about. They don't know what things to tell you about, and many things can go wrong. In particular, we are looking at some of the more recent additions. When we think about the traditional statistics, I think this is your area where you are extremely confident. When we move over to the 21st century statistics, we have considerably more randomness introduced into the models because we are allowing the machines to work out more things for themselves. Now, you might look at these scenarios and say, you don't use these technologies. I think you probably do. You just click a button and don't know that they are going on in the background. In particularly technologies for cleaning data, missing data, you may well be using some of these already. It is advisable to use them. If we're going through historical record keeping, of course the old technologies are fine. But if we are looking at future prediction, there are huge benefits to be had by moving over to these technologies. But we need to start understanding what is going on under the hood simply because it's not enough to understand the technology, you have to also understand the business scenario. And if you give the analytics process to me, I'm not an accountant. I don't know your success criteria. I don't know your critical fail points. I don't know what matters to you. I don't know your business model. There are too many unknowns between myself and you. And so I've got a very simple example here of an area where perhaps we might have something very simple you'll all be very familiar with. My top table is a spreadsheet, which we all work with, and you can see I've got my unique identifier on the left. I've been a good spreadsheet writer, and this will help me to locate data. The one at the bottom looks the same, looks very similar. It's a data table. It's my data table. Now, you might think I've made a mistake by putting the date where the unique identifier should be. We can get multiple dates and timestamps with the same value. But the reason I've done it this way, that first column has a very powerful sorting algorithm behind it. It's not the first column, it's an indexer, and this allows me to scale up my technologies to amazing new heights. And we want to use this for predictive analytics. It doesn't guarantee we predict the future, but it will help us to get a little bit better, and it will give us a competitive edge. So in 2023, next year, when the first of these laws comes into jurisdiction, particularly the EU AI Act will be first, we have to start understanding all of these things, not just looking at the data, but understanding the computational process going on behind to know whether or not we are continuing to operate within the recommendations of the law. And so for this reason, we are finding that our old model of siloing data science skills and everything else is not going to be appropriate anymore. We call it the ally model, the accountant in the loop model of AI. And remember, AI is any probability-based statistical modeling. We need you to start moving into our field because we do not understand your work. We don't understand your priorities. And in order to stay within these new regulations, the world is changing, and we have to start bringing our skills up to this level. Thank you, and I will hand over to one of my colleagues.
Thank you, Dr. Clare. I would like to recognize the presence of some eminent dignitaries here. Mr. V.B. Haribhakti, the former president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, is here. At 92 years, is still participating in all the conferences. Sir, we're really happy about your presence here. Mr. Bhupati, R. Bhupati, please, Mr. Bhupati is here. And then Mr. Atul Gupta, our IFAC board member, is also with us here. Thanks to all of them for having joined us. I now invite Jeffrey Thomson, the President and CEO of Institute of Management Accountants, to please make his presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? You having a good come on, let's hear some noise. Let's hear some energy. We're talking analytics, finance, and accounting. What could be more exciting? Come on, let's hear some noise. I tried. Hey, that's a great pleasure and honor to be here. This is my fourth visit to your beautiful country. I learned so much when I'm here, from a culture perspective, from a inspiration perspective, from a beauty perspective, from a diversity perspective. So it's really a pleasure to be here. So I'm Jeff Thomson, President and CEO of the Institute of Management Accountants, which is a global organization in well over 100 countries. But when people ask if I'm an accountant, I say, yeah, but I'm not yesterday's accountant, I'm today's accountant, accounting 2.0. I actually started out as a data scientist back before probably many of you were born in 1979 at AT&T, before the job title was popularized. And I'm a huge believer, just to follow on to what Claire said, of building in analytics and strategy into our great profession and not bolting it on. And that requires a commitment to upskill, to invest, to redefine the value we add to the profession. So my talk is, let's see.
There you go.
All right, it was the behind the back thing that Shirley did it from a technology perspective. So my theme is the race for relevance. And of course, we want quality, we want accuracy, we want reasonable assurance, et cetera, but former CEO at General Electric, Jack Welch, one of the legendary CEOs in the world, famously said, when the rate of change from the outside exceeds the rate of change from the inside, then the end is near, right? Very, very simple, very, very powerful. So when the rate of change from the outside exceeds the rate of change from the inside, then the end of near. Now, was he necessarily talking about climate and all that we're talking about with COP27 in terms of the sense of urgency and speed and velocity are critical? Was he talking about indirectly or directly the need for our profession to urgently upskill seriously and build in strategic planning, strategic management, data science as we define it, and more? Maybe, probably. But the basic premise, as Raghu rightly said, is new technologies are expanding rapidly. Robotics process automation is now 10 years old. Use cases for blockchain were minimal 5 or 6 or 8 years ago. Now there are many use cases inside and outside of financial services. Quantum computing, what's that all about? So again, this is a velocity challenge, but a challenge that if we don't take on as an accounting 2.0 profession, we will lose the race for relevance. And what is this race all about? Well, very simply put, from an automation perspective, many of these technologies, in fact, all of these technologies in some way, shape, or form, are improving operational efficiency. Robotics process automation, for example, streamlines the book close process, the customer order to cash, transaction processing, bank reconciliation. So in reality, some jobs or activities that are more repeatable and repetitive are going to go away. That's a good thing. Now, if you look upstream and say, well, now we can aspire to higher order skills, relationship building skills, strategic planning skills, data science and data analytics skills. But if we don't seriously invest in those skills, both individually and as organizations, then what's our option? Our option is to outsource. If we outsource the thinking, if we outsource the capability, then our profession will not be as relevant and influential in the long term as it otherwise could have been. Now, if we take on this challenge and invest, again, seriously in these newer competencies, and I'm going to describe at a high level what I mean, then I think our future is very bright, and we can, in fact, win the race for relevance if we work together as an ecosystem around the world. Now, when I talk about data science, and I have to admit I'm a bit biased being a mathematician, statistician, who is so excited to see that we're talking analytics. When I talk data science, I'm really talking about the convergence of sort of three big bubbles. One is applied statistics and mathematics, but I preface that by saying applied. I am not suggesting that all of us need to become PhD statisticians and econometricians, but I am suggesting that we need to up our game. Every single person in this room is capable of learning business statistics, applied mathematics, forecasting methods beyond linear regression. And by the way, when you think about what came out of COP27 and the loss and damages agreement, there's got to be some significant modeling done, significant short and long-term modeling, correlation analysis, multivariate analysis, hypothesis testing. All of these things are eminently teachable, eminently learnable, but we have to make a commitment to change. Again, we all have maybe bad experiences of a math teacher back in the day. Put all those behind you. This is accounting 2.0. Think about quantum computing. So ESG, data modeling, loss and damages effect is the here and now. Think longer term about quantum computing, which I think we might refer to. Look, I don't pretend to understand quantum computing. I read even a wiki article on it, and I really can barely understand it. All I know is that instead of 0 and 1, bits and binary, there's these things called qubits. But here's what excites me about the long-term potential about quantum computing, even though if it's commercially 5 to 10 years out. I hear things like the ability to conduct simulation analysis, Monte Carlo simulation analysis, which used to take months, days, weeks, months, and years, could be done in minutes and nanoseconds and hours. And then I think about optimization, how simulations enable optimization. And then I think about the fact that accounting 2.0 is all about optimization, optimization of enterprise performance, optimization of ESG and financial investments, optimization of internal resources, optimization. So I think, wow, if quantum computing can help me 5 to 10 years out, I want to understand the use cases, and as a finance and accounting 2.0 team, know about those today. Just one last thing before I wrap. Oh, I'm at 0, huh? You said I can go a little. Just one last thing before I show you a wrap-up slide in terms of the call to action. There's 2 really good books that are fairly dated, but their titles and their content really describe what I'm talking about. One is called Exploratory Data Analysis by Princeton mathematician and statistician John Tukey, written, I believe, in 1977. It's called Exploratory Data Analysis. And although the book is a tough read at like 700 pages, I know John has read it, right, John? Although it's a tough analytical read at over 700 pages, the title, Exploratory Data Analysis. Yes, data scientists and data analysts that we're all going to build in and not bolt on to our great profession is definitely about answering the boss's questions and regulator questions in kind of a sequential, systematic, analytical way. But increasingly, we want data scientists to be inquisitive. We want them to be explorers. We want them to seek answers in the data, right? And unleash new insights and new value to the corporation. Data mining could be an example of this kind of analysis that we at least need to be familiar with from a language perspective. And then the other book is by Thomas Davenport from Babson College in Rhode Island, who wrote the book Competing on Analytics, The New Science of Winning. That was 2007, Competing on Analytics, The New Science of Winning. And when you think about winning in the market, what do you think about? You think about apps, you think about market-facing cool things. Analytics as the new science of winning? 2007, it absolutely is the way forward to know your customers and their behaviors better than they know themselves, to predict predictive analytics and not just low-level analytics, which is important, like diagnostic and descriptive analytics, but we must aspire to more if, in fact, we're going to win the race for relevance. So it is a collaboration in our ecosystem, in our profession. For individuals, it's about adopting and adapting. Don't be afraid of math. Don't be afraid of statistics. It's very, very applied, and people in this room and our students coming up are incredibly intelligent. For academia, in the US, we don't teach enough forward-looking, long-term value creation content. We still are somewhat stuck in the world of standards and compliance, audit, and tax. Critically important, no doubt about it. But if we want to be accountants 2.0, we've got to build in this content into our curriculum. And increasingly, we're seeing that. We're seeing STEM types of concept being built right into the curriculum. Not as an elective, but inside the curriculum, and we strongly, strongly support that. Corporations need to invest in the future, right? Again, analytics as maybe the not so new, but you better get on the bandwagon way of winning. And then, of course, for all of us in this room, IFAC, ICAI, we all must make a commitment to upskilling in a genuine and serious way. Otherwise, we will lose the race for relevance, but I'm extremely, extremely optimistic with the kind of discussions we're having here and everywhere in the world that we will, in fact, our great profession, Accounting 2.0, will win the race for relevance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. I think the message is very clear. Quantum computing is gaining ground. We have been seeing how quantum computing can change the whole way we start using analytics in our profession. And very rightly has said that profession should now move faster and smarter, and it's up to us as to how we could move faster and smarter. Now I will request Mr. John Turner, the CEO of XBRL International, been doing a lot of work on promoting XBRL around the world. And if you look at India, most of the regulators are insisting that companies should file their accounting information using XBRL. The Reserve Bank of India has mandated all the banking companies, the banks in India to file their audited financials on XBRL, the reporting on XBRL. Then we have SEBI mandating XBRL for listed companies. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs also has been actively working with XBRL to see that it is implemented very quickly. And John would tell us as to how XBRL would help the accounting profession to analyze data. Over to Mr. John.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and it's an honor to be here. I have to admit that I'm another one that isn't an accountant. Indeed, I'm not an accountant, not an auditor. I haven't played an accountant or an auditor in a movie or a TV series. Open to offers. But today I would like to start off by sharing why I'm so excited about being here. I'm excited because of all of you. And the work that you do today, primarily focused on financial disclosures, is critically important and is going to become much more important as we move forward and as we expand into a brave new world of corporate reporting, which covers financial disclosures as well as sustainability disclosures. So starting with disclosure in a technology talk seems slightly odd, but let me explain. Disclosure, whether you're the humblest bookkeeper or whether you're focused on the most complex judgments associated with some sort of financial instrument, is where the rubber hits the road. It is where the public interest aspect of the profession is most evident. It is where the work that you do all comes together to provide information to relevant stakeholders, whether it's inside your organization or outside of your organization. Why does disclosure matter? Disclosure matters because it creates, by its very nature, a host of feedback loops. Those are feedback loops from investors, from lenders, from regulators, from customers, from suppliers, and increasingly from a much wider set of stakeholders that everybody needs to be aware of and keep a focus on. That feedback loop, in turn, creates positive behavioral change in companies right across the world. We've seen that in financial disclosure, and we are going to see it also within this field of sustainability disclosure. And the humble accountant, but not so humble in this context, is coming to the fore, bringing the rigor and bringing the judgment that's necessary to ensure that information that is critical, not just to the activities of individual organizations, but to all of our societies, can be relied upon. Now, unsurprisingly, all of that information is becoming digital. We live in the 21st century. Every aspect of what we do is digital, and this is also true for disclosure. Now, many of you are familiar with, I can see many of our friends from ICAI in India here today. Many of you are familiar with some of the disclosures that you make in an Indian context. And some of you might think, well, this is a fairly rote activity. It's a fairly simple activity at the end of a process. I would like to describe in the next 3 minutes why that is something that is going to change and become more important for you and indeed for all of our friends from right across the rest of the world. Digital disclosure is becoming table stakes for all disclosure. So at XBRL International, we've been working for 20 years in this area of moving the world from paper to data. We're interested in improving transparency and accountability, thereby improving company performance and organizational performance in the public sector. That process is pretty successful. There's now more than 200 mandates around the world, coming up to 70 countries. Something like 137 regulators mandate that the interactions that they have with regulated companies is digital already, and we're seeing a new wave of this occurring right around the world. People ask me, whatever is digital disclosure and why does it matter to me? And indeed, what does it matter for sustainability disclosure? So, probably quite hard to see from the background, but you can go to our website to have a deeper look. Here's what sustainability disclosure can mean for you and all of your colleagues as we move forward. Some of you will be familiar with the BRSR disclosure framework that is in place in India. There are similar frameworks going into place around the world, although India is at least 12 months ahead. This year, a couple of hundred voluntary companies have provided their BRSR disclosures on a voluntary basis, and they've done so in XBRL, because that's what the rule is. You must structure this information. When you structure that information, then when you consume that data, we can trivially import that into a range of analytics tools. These are very simple ones. This is just Tableau, but we can do an awful lot more with that as time goes on. And you immediately find an enormous number of useful insights. For the accountants from India in the room, you might be interested in the green and red boxes. The green shows the proportion of particular disclosures that have been subject to external assurance. The red is your target. So I'd have a little prescription associated with digital disclosure as very much at the core of ensuring that the information that Jeff and Claire have been talking about is high quality and can be used. 80% of data scientists' time tends to be involved in cleansing and deduplicating information. In our sphere of regulated disclosure, we want to make sure that you have to spend minimal time doing that the information is of the highest quality and of the highest utility. So, 4 quick prescriptions in this context. The first is the obvious thing, and in many countries this is already happening. Focus on data, not paper. We have to move right around the world, everywhere we haven't already, into an environment in which you're embedding digital disclosures, quality and assurance, and indeed audit, into the organization, and you need to do that worldwide. That process requires some knowledge about what digital tagging is, and this involves understanding things you already understand, understanding your accounting standards, understanding your disclosure standards, and mapping between those standards and the relevant tags that mean the machines can consume that same information. The second point is to do this smarter, not harder. So whilst in many environments these efforts tend to start off as template functions, we shift from a template to embedding structured information into all of our internal processes. As we do that, we are producing higher quality information for use right across the organization. We are providing higher quality information for use by all of our external stakeholders, and we're greatly improving the controls within that environment. The next point is analytics. Use this information or lose your edge. So it's not enough to say, oh, I've done my disclosure, I've thrown it over the wall, I'm finished. Don't do that. Please don't do that. This is a call for all of you leaders in this profession from right around the world to ensure that your people have the skills to do the analytics, to understand the relative performance of a particular organization against its peers and its competitors, and using some of the techniques that Jeff and Claire have described. And of course, the whole point of this, the last point, is this enables you to drive value. The function of the accountancy profession moves up the value chain as this information improves, as the controls improve, as the rigor with which that information is available improves. That is a function of digitization, but it's also a function of all the things you are very familiar with. And when you have that information, you can and the analytics that are derived from it, you can drive value right across your organization in terms of driving business performance. So with that as a way of a targeted call to action in terms of skills development, I'll conclude my initial comments and look forward to the conversation. Let me thank once again ICAI and IFAC for putting on an utterly magnificent event over the last 4 days. Congratulations, you should all be very proud, although I'm sure a number of you are very tired. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. John. John has been doing an excellent work in promoting XBRL around the world. And 10 years back when XBRL started its journey in India, we realized that this is something very new. Because friends, XBRL is about everything about tagging the financial, every item in the financial statement is tagged. And we have seen how the XBRL benefits can flow into various analytical tools that are available. Thank you, John. And now we have with us CA Shailesh Haribhakti, a very eminent chartered accountant who has been in practice for last maybe 4 decades. He is specializing in sustainability reporting, technology consulting, and I'm sure he'll give us the landscape as to what is in store for us with so much developments taking place in the field of technology. Over to Mr. Shailesh Haribhakti.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raghu. My fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen. It's an exceptional delight to be here to participate in this phenomenal conference put together by the ICAI. I'm very proud of belonging to our institute, and IFAC, which I have deep respect for, because they've brought the entire accounting world together. I'm going to use just one slide, and it's all there for you to view. You know, many years ago, I thought I was clever, so I set out trying to change the world. Today, I'm wiser, and I've decided that I'm going to change myself. And I hope that all of you and all of us will actually change ourselves to make us embrace and look forward to this new world that is emerging before us. Ray Kurzweil, says that by 2035, we will have a new singularity at the cusp of information technology, nanotechnology, and biotechnology. And I bring an Indian element to it by saying that we will bring sustainability, technology, and spirituality together. And that's where we will lead, and we will share, and we will learn from all over the world what we need to do. But let's look at how the world is changing, and it's changing dramatically. Completely ubiquitous net connections, and artificial intelligence will rule everything we do. There'll be only two kinds of companies. One, which have embraced and incorporated artificial intelligence, Claire, to your point, and those that will be on the brink of extinction. And this is critical because Web 3.0, 5G, 6G, all of that is converging to make smart, embedded, and augmented intelligence to reach human level by 2029. And this is not a fictitious prediction. This is said by Yuval Harari, as many of you would have read. It is the conviction of Ray Kurzweil. Elon Musk says that this is going to happen much faster. And everybody is working towards making it happen. We are seeing complete global abundance of compute power. And to the point of quantum computing is now actually feasible because we have so much compute power that can be brought together using cloud and using all the connected technologies that we now know. This is a meta trend which is unstoppable. We also see that we are moving into a trillion sensor world. We, therefore, can take the moonshot of actually having a global network of even more than the number of countries represented in this conference, which I believe is 100 plus, 120. There's no reason why the entire globe, every country in the world, cannot collaborate. And that is the moonshot that is waiting for all of us to actually take. Let's look at another aspect of what is transforming our world. Everything is on demand. You can have production on demand, you can have consumption on demand. It will be supplied to you as you think of it. It is complete autonomous mobility will be with us by 2035. No question in my mind. And in fact, what India contributed to COP27 in terms of change of lifestyle will get reflected in this aspect. While we are moving towards autonomous mobility, we need to change our lifestyle in a way that we learn to consume responsibly where we are and procure what we want to consume right there by using the technology base that will be created. Onshoring of manufacturing and outsourcing of labor are two unstoppable changes. Because the supply chain disruptions that the world has seen through COVID and through the war and through all of these global phenomena have forced the world to rethink. I just visited a factory which will clearly, at 4.0, not have as much dependence on human beings as it has on technology and a working internet. So our moonshot is to create workplace neutrality in its entirety. Token-based fund raising, clean water and air on demand, finance at scale, all through us as professionals. Third aspect that the world is moving towards, always alive devices and robots. You can see that we are all going to be turned into prosumers. We are not going to be just a consumer of a product or a service. We would want to co-create that product. And therefore, I use this new term and I give it to you here at this World Congress, that all of us will turn into prosumers. And it is, again, an unstoppable meta trend. Humanoid robots, high bandwidth, and particularly brain-computer interface is what is going to reduce the need for transport, for making sure that we must cause a carbon footprint to make goods available wherever we need them. And the moonshot is on-demand basic services for all, completely to every person in every country through institutional players. And finally, longevity and sustainability. So much has been said about it. I'll only read out the moonshot, which is to energize the service availability through converging technologies and exponential networks that we will develop through conferences like this. To this glorious future, my friends, I invite you to all participate and come along, because there are only 3 words that will make meaning for all of us. And they are respect, trust, and above all, love. Love the work, love the fellow human being, no restrictions, and we will create this new world that is beckoning us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sailesh. I think excellent moonshots given by you. Friends, I think the message is very clear. Today, with so many innovations taking place in fintech, the way people are using technology for portfolio management, stock market trading, online insurance, invoicing, the way digital currency is being used, e-wallets, I think we need to understand emerging technologies. Very rightly, Shailesh ji has given the moonshots for all these areas. And now we just have about 6 minutes for the session to conclude. So what I have decided is I will be posing some questions to the panel. I would request them to quickly answer those questions. The first one would be to John. Blockchain technology, how can it be implemented in accounting firms? How exactly accountants should gear up to learn this technology? Could you just share your thoughts on that, John?
At the risk of making myself very unpopular, sure. People say that sex sells. Sure, doesn't sell nearly as well as fear. If you introduce a new set of technologies and you tell everybody in every industry that this technology will replace everything that they're going to do, they will invest. And they did. That technology to date has singularly failed to achieve any of its objectives. It has also singularly managed to create an extraordinary hype cycle and an extraordinary level of economic loss. Who in this room of chartered accountants would have thought that it is possible that if you create unregulated capital markets, that you would attract fraudsters to those markets? That would be everybody in this room. So far, this has been a desperately disappointing set of technologies. I still have hope that there will be a resurgence, a review, an ethical framework, and regulation. But in most cases, I'm sorry to say, everything that people say they can do or would like to do with blockchain can be done faster, better, cheaper, and with less impact on the environment with other high-tech implementations. So I'm sorry to be the downer on that particular technology, and I'm sure some of my colleagues have got a much more upbeat approach.
No.
This question is to Dr. Clare. She has been working with analytics. I think all of us in the hall would be keen to embrace analytics more. And what do you think should be the road ahead for all of us? How do you think we should build the skill sets in analytics?
Baby steps. Baby steps. You already have amazing data skills. You have mathematical skills. You already have the basis. Let's just go one tiny baby step forwards. Use my indexing. See how you get on. It will be faster. See if you like it. If you don't like it, don't use it. Let's try the next step and the next step. It's not an all or nothing scenario. You don't have to go straight to the highest technologies that there are. There are little tiny steps and little incremental improvements, and you will learn how to manage these, learn the risks, learn the benefits, and it will always be a choice. There are times when I choose to ignore the high-tech stuff and go straight back to the older, sometimes going back to 1770s, because it's better. But I have that choice, which perhaps is what you might be lacking at the moment. So baby steps, don't try going too far, too fast. It is too scary.
Wonderful. Jeffrey? Data visualization is an exciting area today. And every accounting professional would like to present data in a creative way, in a new way. What is your thoughts on how we could be experts in data visualization?
Oh. Data visualization. I thought you were going to give me a blockchain kind of question too. Yeah, I mean, look, this is all about, and as Claire said, it's a pathway, right, to advanced analytics. You know, there's different lines of sight that we think of in accounting and the various professions. Two of the more basic ones that are very, very important are hindsight and oversight. Very, very important to look back to accurately and fairly describe the financial position of the firm in an ethical, inspiring way. Oversight, of course, in the role we play as accounting and finance team professionals. But what we're also after, through data, through analytics and technology, is insight and foresight. Nowadays we can get machines to, do a lot of the basics, but, data visualization is part of telling the story to upper management, to boards, to investors, to ESG rating analysts, to insurers, and to all in creating long-term value in a multi-stakeholder environment. There's a lot of tools out there. I'm somewhat agnostic to the tools, but when I think about Claire's point too about baby steps and whatever steps you think make sense, the opportunity to describe this profession and tell the story to early career professionals, millennials, is enormous. I mean, you say data science, oh my God, numbers and statistics, math. But how about saying, look, you can make a difference for your organization and for the world. You can, yes, you do have to know some applied statistics, some applied mathematics, but it's eminently teachable, eminently learnable. Computer coding is part of the 3 circles of data science that I didn't finish because I was freaked out when I was out of time. But in the computer coding, all right, I don't care if it's R or Python, Excel, yes, Power BI, but computer coding, this is exciting stuff, eminently learnable and teachable. And then the last bubble of data science is domain knowledge, knowledge of the business context, knowledge of the data context, structured data that's financial, unstructured data that's behavioral, and quite necessary to add foresight and insight. So eminently teachable, eminently learnable, whether you're a young professional, seasoned professional, or anywhere in between.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Question to Shailesh. Today, organizations want auditors to carry out an online real-time audit. They want us to do a web trust audit. How do you think we should move forward? What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I think that's inevitable. And what's going to happen is that the expectation of society from auditors is to cleanse the environment. If you see, a big part of the COP27 discussion was on anti-greenwashing. And one of the things that we as accountants will have to do is to learn, not just for financial capital, but for all the 6 capitals of integrated reporting, to throw the muck out and to actually prevent the muck from getting in. So I have 3 prescriptions. 1, avoid data entry. The root cause of bad problems is data entry. Data should be captured as it flows through ecosystems. To me, that's the big thing that we as accountants must support. 2, we must get bankers to become accountants. And we must get the governments to become the tax determinants. Because this whole business of filing taxes and this whole business of doing bank reconciliation is half your time wasted and the root cause of all the fraudulent activities. And the last prescription is never create conflict of interest. The root cause of problems and greenwashing and all of that is related party transactions and conflict of interest. So if these can be avoided, then you would create an environment which will naturally lead to auditing that is desired by your customer and your constituent.
Thank you, Sailesh. I think we should give a big round of applause to the entire panel for sharing their insights as to how we should embrace technology. Friends, I've been a member of the International Federation of Accountants of 2015 to 2018. And when we were discussing on how technology implementation in the profession, we had done a survey and we realized that many accounting bodies around the world taking the lead, but it's absolutely not sufficient. And today we find that many of the accounting institutes around the world are taking a lead in training members on analytics, training members on robotic process automation, training members on blockchain, training members on XBRL. I think it's for us to gear up to what is expected from the users. And I'm sure as accounting professionals, we've all been used to embracing change, embracing technologies would not be very difficult. And let's look at it very positively as to how each one of us could benefit out of the technology that is available to us and how easily we could use technology in our day-to-day working. Thank you, panelists, for an excellent participation here to the World Congress, and to all the delegates who are present here for participating in this panel session on technology and the future. Wishing good luck to each one of you.
Thank you so much, distinguished panelists. Can we have a big round of applause, please? On technology and the future and the wonderful deliverables that we've had. And now to present a memento as a token of our gratitude and appreciation, may I take this opportunity to invite our respected CA Charunjot Singh Nanda sir to kindly come on the dais, please. are going to commence at 3:30 p.m. Thank you so much.